So all this week, the 12 News I-Team has been following your money, tax dollars, in Arizona's school voucher program. And this morning we have our Craig Harris joining us live in studio after digging into some really eye-opening ESA spending. And we were talking families who are using that money for trips to San Diego, to go to the zoo, to go to SeaWorld. We're talking about how you can get anything really passed through if it's under $2,000. We've got a lot to talk about because we also talk about the flip side. Right. We also talk about some really good things that this money is going towards. I want to start, though, because this has gone viral all over social media. The San Diego Zoo trips, the SeaWorld trips. You joined, it was like some sort of a meeting that was going on how to get these ESA things approved. What did you learn? Well,
it was a group called Love Your School, which is an interesting name for an organization that they don't really have a school because there's a lot of homeschoolers, but that's fine. And they had a kind of a clinic, so to speak, like a webinar on how to use ESA dollars to spend it while you're on vacation, how to use it when you go to the San Diego Zoo, how to use it when you go to SeaWorld, how to use it when you go to Mexico, how to use it when you go around the world. And it's perfectly legal as long as they write some kind of curriculum that shows what's going on.
And I think that's a really important key here because right now, it's perfectly legal. These families, listen, what you're doing under state law is okay. But when taxpayers hear that, who are not part of this program, they don't love hearing that. What are you hearing from the everyday taxpayer?
They're furious. They're not happy at all. They're like, how does this work? How can this actually be true when we have schools where I know of public school teachers that are running GoFundMe accounts so they can have enough books in their classroom.
The teachers of my own children are doing that.
Yeah. So I know teachers who are doing GoFundMe because they don't have enough books.
Right.
And yet you have this fund that is giving mostly wealthy families. They're not all wealthy.
Right.
Most of them are. The overwhelming majority are wealthy families that are getting this money, and it's essentially just free money.
It's free money.
It's free money that's coming from the state. But conversely, I've been pushed back and attacked on social media by people who typically hide behind memes. They don't want to be a real person.
Always.
And they'll say, well, public schools do this. I'm like, no. Public schools do trips to California, or they do like big trips, but they use donations, which is a big difference. They're not using education tax dollars. Exactly.
So there is something happening right now at Horne's office where basically anything that you submit under the ESA program that's under $2,000, you get. What was part of your investigation this week?
Well, we found out about that anything, like you said, anything under $2,000 at State Superintendent Tom Horne's office, who oversees the ESA program, boom, goes right through. They don't have the staff, and it's not his fault. He's asked for more staffers. The governor and the Republican-controlled legislature have said, no, we're not going to give you more, even though they could have. And even a lot of Republicans also got allocated, for lack of a better term, slush fund money that they could use however they want. They could have used some of that money and but they could have allocated it to Superintendent Horne's office to get more staff. So he doesn't have the staff to do that. So he has to push it through because he's under immense pressure to get more people on the program from the Republicans and the legislature. So he's caught in a rock and a hard spot. Now, he has, to his credit, caught about $35 million of questionable expenses that he said, no, we're not going to fund that. But, like others have told me, you could put things for $1,999.99 and boom, it's going to get pushed right through.
It's unbelievable. You guys have to go through. You have done so many stories. Please take the time to really educate yourself on what's happening with this. I do want to talk about the flip side because ESAs, when they were first created years and years ago, it really had really a great thing to help families who were really struggling and were in poor schools, to help those who had special needs. And you went to a school that really is doing incredible things for those on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, we were invited to a school that specializes in autism, and it was a great experience. And the schools have very, very small classes. The tuition there is over $30,000, but the ESA funds cover that, or almost all of it. 99% of the kids there are on ESAs. And it is a great program. It is a very small classrooms. It's designed to help these kids learn not just math and reading and science, but to learn life skills. Yeah. And a lot of the parents are so grateful because it's like, oh, well, you taught him to make his bed here. My daughter or my son won't make their bed at home, but they're learning this there, and it's a great program. And that is what the ESAs initially were designed for. But 3 years ago, under Governor Doug Ducey and the Republican-controlled legislature, they expanded it to anybody, regardless of income. You can get this regardless. And so there are special ed families who have reached out to me, and they are not happy at all of what's going on because they're afraid it's going to hurt them. I also even had the grandmother of a 10-year-old girl who's been watching our stories, and she says, we've got to get this to stop or it's going to hurt me.
Yes,
and she's
who it was originally for.
Right. She's a special needs kid who's home because there's been a lot of trauma in her life, and that's how the money is designed to help her.
Right.
And no one is really going to object to that. That's part of an education system in this state and a lot of other states. What people get upset about is money that subsidizes vacations or buys high-end products that you get to keep at home, like blenders, you know, and that's what really kind of makes people upset and questions, should our tax dollars be used for this? And so that's kind of what we've been uncovering.
And you've been doing an incredible job. You've put it on so many people's radars. I was bouncing around all across the valley going to different public schools, and I told you this. The biggest thing that I heard back from them was thank you for covering the ESA and the voucher program. So let's continue that work. It's just any way that we can support you and what you're doing is truly incredible.
We've got more stories next week.